Alright, what is up, guys? So, in this episode here, we're going to start getting into the code part, which is my favorite part. All that other stuff, I'm not really a fan of. I'm a fan of, getting into the code part. So, this is the episode where we're going to do it. This is episode 5, by the way. If you want to check out my previous episodes, before that, it's on my channel and my playlist. Spoiler, those episodes do not involve code yet. It involves like getting it prepped, getting the app prepped and ideas prepped and all that stuff. But this episode is where the code happens. So we're gonna start it off by creating our folder. So we're gonna get that created. The way I have it structured is gonna be a little bit different because in the end I plan on deploying this app to Heroku. So the way I structure it right now, it's because of that, and I'm gonna show you guys in more detail. So first, we need to start off by creating a project. All right, so I got my terminal window open, and I'm gonna do this through the terminal. I'm gonna CD into my desktop here, just in case you guys can't see that clearly. Blow it up a bit. There we go. All right. So I'm CDing into my desktop. Let me see if I can make a folder. Last time I tried to do a test one and it didn't work. So let me see. Make dir. I'm gonna call this what are we gonna call this? What is this folder called? EverNote. EverNote. Clone, no spaces, no caps. Let's see if it works. No. File exists. What? Does it? Oh yeah, it does. It exists already. Well, let me delete it. That's that test one I was working on, just to see if make dir was gonna work. So it does. All right, so let's create one fresh. Make dir, then EverNote clone. So we get that. Boom! It creates it right there. All right. So now, in this folder, we're going to open this folder in our VS Code here. I would do the code dot, but every time I try to do that, to open this folder inside of the VS Code, it always doesn't work. So I'm just going to do it manually. Go over here to the VS Code and then go open folder. And if you don't see this part pop up, you can always go to the code part and then go to open, and it'll open up your folder for you if you don't see this part. So we're going to go to open folder, and then we're going to go to the EverNote one we just created. Open that up. Now in this part right here, we're just basically going to, what we're going to do, we're going to do 3 things in this episode. I probably should have said in the beginning. We're going to do 3 things. We're going to create the React app. We're going to put in our server.js for all our server code and whatnot. And then we're going to go ahead and install all the packages that we need to get it ready for our next episode. Because in the next one, then we'll go, into more details. But in this one, I just want to get the project started, right? So now that we got that, let me CD into my terminal here. So CD into EverNote clone here, and then we're going to do touch. This is how you create a file inside of the folder through the terminal. You do touch, and then whatever the file you want, whatever the file name is. So we're going to say server.js. This is where all of our server code is going to go, in this server.js file. So we create that, and if we look here, it has it right there, right? So now we need to go ahead. We're not going to work on the front end just yet. Well, not in this episode, but like in future episodes, we're going to be mostly focusing on the back end, because that has more of the more of some of the difficult things you have to do in the back end. So we want to do the back end first and get that out of the way in the future videos. So once we got that going, we're going to go ahead and create the React app folder inside of our EverNote folder. Okay, so we'll do npx. That's the new I don't know, what do you call it, like not syntax, but that's the new thing you have to do now when you create a React app. Because this, when you do npx, I think it creates like an instance of a React app on your desktop or whatever folder you put in. But before, the older version was you had to install React globally, I think that's what the difference is. Now you don't have to install React globally. You can use the npx to install the React app without having to install like it on your actual system. If I'm wrong, please research that up. But as far as I know from the posters I've been reading on, that's what npx does. So we're gonna do create React, if I can spell, React app, and then we're gonna give it a name for this app. So we're gonna name it client, because it has to be. You have to be. You have to make sure we can differentiate. I said that word wrong. We have to make sure we can tell it apart from the server part and then the client. So that's why we name it client. So it's going to create that in our EverNote. So we should see a folder that says client in a second. Get that going. Install it on of our scripts and whatnot. There was a post that I read that showed me, that kind of showed me how to do it. Well, that made me understand deploying the, because this is what I'm doing. I'm setting it up like this. That way I can deploy it all. I can deploy the front end code to the server end, so the server can serve that up and then push it to Heroku so we can get our app. That's basically why it's structured like this. Now there's another way you could deploy an app, which was how I used to do it, is that I made a folder for the front end, and then I made a folder for the back end that had all my API routes, and then I would deploy my API routes to Heroku, and then I would deploy my front end to Netlify. So they'll be on different hosts, and then once I get them both online, I make requests for my front end to my Heroku API. That's another way to do it, but I think I heard it was, I think I read that it's, I mean, it's good because it separates your front end code from your back end code instead of putting it together like this. But, you know, I've seen a lot of coders do it this way, like most of them do it this way, to do it all on one, to have the server do it all. That way you don't have to, create two of them. But it's not saying it's a bad way. There's multiple ways to do things. So you could do it that way I just mentioned. But I wanted to try doing this way because I never did it this way before. So, alright, so we got our React app right here. And then we got our server going right here, right? So, what was the other thing that we need to do? Create the React app, get the server. Okay, so now we got to do the package.json and then install all the packages. So that's the last thing we got to do. So we got to get package.json in here. So, am I in the home one? Yeah, I am. Okay, so in your main directory, not your client, but in your main app right here, in your main folder, in your main folder right here, make sure you're in that. And then you're going to go npm init to create a package.json file, and then push -y to skip all the questions that it's going to ask you. You don't have to do all that. You could if you want, but we're going to skip through that. So it creates all of this in the package.json file right here. Right? And then this is basically going to run our server code, because it's like on the home. directory, and then the package.json for this one for in our client is going to run our client side and all that stuff, right? So that's how that works. We'll get into more details in the further tutorials. So then what I want to do is I want to create all the packages that I need. I want to get that out of the way. So since we're working with GraphQL and Express, right? Let me pull up the the docs here. We're working with there's actually a lot of packages that you can use with Express and GraphQL. I think it shows it on the website, if I'm not mistaken, on the docs. Let me see. GraphQL.org. Pretty sure it shows. Oh no, I think it was how to on GraphQL. I'll see what it is on there. And for those that don't know what GraphQL is, GraphQL is basically it's called the query language, but I know that probably doesn't make any type of sense. GraphQL has one endpoint. Now, if you work with the REST API, with the REST API, you have multiple endpoints, right? Sorry, my voice is going out. So in REST API, you usually have like one endpoint that goes to API/users, right? And then you get user data, right? And then you have another API that'll go to like users slash login, which gets the login information of that user. So that's two different endpoints you got to go to on REST API. But on GraphQL, there's only one endpoint. And the one endpoint is /GraphQL. And then all your other requests are in all the other endpoints that you make are going to be directed to that one endpoint. I don't think I don't know if I confuse you anymore. But so let me compare it like I just did. So in GraphQL, instead of having multiple endpoints like REST, with GraphQL, you can go to GraphQL and then query the users, and then you get back some users, and within that query, you can also query another request to the login information of that user, all in one request. You don't have to do two separate requests like you do with REST. So that's kind of like the difference in GraphQL between GraphQL and REST. Again, I'll go further details into what it is, because I have a lot of blog posts that I saved that we're going to go through and figure all of the GraphQL stuff out. But I just want to get GraphQL installed on here. I want to get Express installed on our app and regular GraphQL. So I just want to get that installed real quick. So I probably should have went to get started, right? Let me see. Let's get started, same thing. Let me see. Started. Because since we're using GraphQL with Express, we're going to have to install a package called GraphQL. We're going to have to install a package called Express-GraphQL. And those two are working together. And then you have to install GraphQL separately. Let me see. I don't think this is going to show it, honestly. Let me see. GraphQL. Yeah, see, it's on GitHub. Create a GraphQL HTTP server. I think this is the GitHub page for it. Yeah, so this is Express and GraphQL working together. So that's what we're going to do in ours. So we're going to need to install this. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do yarn. Add. I'm using yarn. The only reason why I use node, npm, is to do the package. I didn't know if I could do the package init with yarn, so that's why. But I'm using yarn for this one. You can use npm if you like. Yarn add. We're going to add the Express dash GraphQL. That should add that. So we're gonna get that added, right? And then we're not gonna get into that, but we'll get into that once we get into the GraphQL episode and whatnot. So we got that, and then we want to do yarn add express, of course. Now, me being on the home directory, it's installing all of these packages in this package.json. Where it should be. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah. And I think we have to install GraphQL by itself. I thought you had to. We could just install GraphQL by itself, just in case. GraphQL. I think it was like .js. Did I spell it right? Graph. No, I did not. GraphQL -js. Yeah, I think that's one, right? No? Oh, I didn't do add. Oopsies. Darn, add. GraphQL -js. I think that's one, right? Let me look that up. Oh, I didn't do it. Let me see. GraphQL -js. Is it not GraphQL -js? I thought it was. Let me see. Yeah, you do have to install it because you can't use Express GraphQL without having the regular GraphQL. So yeah, you do have to install GraphQL. I just thought about it. Oh, it's not JS. Okay. Never mind. Okay. Let's try it again. GraphQL. Alright, cool. So now we got all of those installed. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code here and look at the package.json. We got Express separately, GraphQL separately, and then put them together so we can work them together. Okay. So we got that. And is there any other? Oh yeah, NodeMon. I want to use NodeMon because I want to have the server automatically update, so we won't have to keep running our file, and then it starts it. We want to have the server running in the background, so when it updates it automatically. So that's what NodeMon does. It just watches our file and makes changes to the server and whatnot. So NodeMon, do yarn add NodeMon, yarn add NodeMon, so we're going to add that in there. Add that in there. Okay, so now that we got that, we probably have some time to just get the server going. We won't dive into no GraphQL here, but just to get the server going, and then I'll end the video there. Okay, so we're gonna get this Express app going here. So require Express. Let's see. Let me do const app equals Express. It's not auto completing for me. What? That's annoying. Make sure I didn't do nothing wrong to it. NodeMon. I put NodeMon there, so NodeMon can watch for the server.js file just in case of a change, and then it could reload the server and whatnot. and then I'll do app.use for a slash route. It's going to be like some dummy text in here. We're going to get rid of all of this in the next video. But res, no, is it request response or res? It's been a while since I did this. Res, request like that, and like that, and then do dot send. See, it's making me nervous. It's not auto-completing like it usually would. I'll see if I'm doing something wrong in a minute. So return hello from server. Right? And then it just feels so naked right here. Feels like I'm missing something. Const, could be const port is equal to, our port is basically like localhost dot or semicolon. So the port, so this is what the port is. Localhost actually 1000. So it would look like HTTP slash like that. Okay, see, this is what the port is right here. The port is that. So we gotta set it to 5000. Port equals 5000, and then we'll come here and go app.listen. Okay, there's the auto import. We're gonna listen for that port, right? And then we're gonna call an arrow function, and what this does is basically gonna console.log to basically let us know that this server is running. So server is running. I'm not gonna put the port name in there because, you know, as long as it's running, it's obviously running on that port, right? So our Express app is listening on this port. So that's what that means, in case it was confusing. Alright, so now that we got that, and I do have no minus, alright? Okay, yeah. Alright, so now that we got that, what we can do is, oh no, not that one. Let's see. We'll do, Jesus, I forgot just that quickly how to start it. Oh, okay. Yarn start, and then it'll start the server. Doey! Had a brain fart. It's been a while since I did the back end. It's alright, we'll get through it. Alright, yarn start. Yeah, so it starts the server. Server's running. So now, I'm going to pull that down. Now, if we go over here, and we go to local host, not 3000, but 5000. I put 5000? Okay. And then rest is not a response. Okay, well, at least it's working. But now I'm getting an error. Res.send. It's not a function. I made it a function. Let's see. Let's see here. Res. Dot send. Wait, if I go to. Come on, do it. Okay, so error. Okay, let me see. Okay, so res.send. Well, this is where our Google skills comes in, because I forgot. It's been a while. Let me see. Let's go here. It's not a function. Okay, his look like mine. App.listen. Okay, yeah, he did the same thing like I did. According to the first one. Oh, okay. Darn it, I knew I needed to flip it, but I wasn't sure. Okay, it's being picky. Request goes first, then res, whatever. Shit, okay. Alright, let's try it. There we go. Okay. So request goes first. I gotta remember that. Request goes first, then the response. That simple little thing threw me off. Alright, but yeah, this is as far as I wanna go in this episode. So there will be lots more to come in some more episodes where we're gonna get into getting GraphQL and understanding GraphQL better. So I got a couple of pages that I got saved to help us figure out how we're gonna maneuver in GraphQL and how the data is gonna be related to what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to that. I will do that in the next video. This video, I just wanted to go ahead and set up the project, get that going. In the next couple of videos, like I said, we're going to be working more on the back end, and then eventually we'll get to the front end and work on that. I just want to get this back end done, familiarize myself with the back end because it's been a while, and the back end seems like it's more functionality in the back end, So we'll get more into that, get more into GraphQL in the next episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.